Joins us now from Charlotte, North Carolina. He is an assistant vice president of NCNB National Bank, the largest bank in North Carolina. She also plans on having a baby and came to her present job when her former employer, a competitor of NCNB, would not consider letting her work part-time while she reared her children. Lester Korn, who's in our Los Angeles bureau, is the chairman and founder of Korn Ferry International, one of the largest executive search firms in the world. He is also the author of the Success Profile, a book dealing with planning successful careers. Also with us in Los Angeles, Betty Friedan, founder and first president of the National Organization of Women, whose 1963 book, The Feminine Mystique, is widely credited as the spark that ignited the modern woman's movement in America. Now, Lisa Hirsch, I'd like to begin with you and have you tell us very quickly the story of your previous employer and what happened when you walked in and said, hey, what happens if my husband and I have a baby?
Well, Ted, with me, moving to NCNB was really just a matter of trying to plan for my future. And I thought I had done a good job of that at the previous bank I was working at. I had been in a marketing position when I started there, and I realized that all the travel involved in marketing and being at your customer's beck and call was really not going to work if I wanted to have a child someday. So I interviewed and got myself moved into a different department within the same division, one that did not call for a lot of travel, and one that had some women working part-time in that department when I first got there. And I was very dedicated to my job there because I knew that this was going to be a position that was going to accommodate my future needs. But what happened was they slowly started getting rid of the people that were working part-time, and I became concerned about this and asked about the possibility of me going part-time in the future once I had children, and they informed me that no, that was no longer their policy, and that absolutely could not be considered.
Let me just ask you for a minute. When you talked about going part-time, were you talking about going part-time for a year or two after your baby was born, or doing it permanently?
Well, I can't really say. You know, I do not have any children yet. I just wanted to know
what did you ask for? What did you talk about?
I just wanted to know that I had the possibility of going part-time in the future. I did not ask for anything more specific than that. And they immediately foreclosed all discussion of the issue and said that it was not even open for discussion.
Did you point out to them that you know, after all, for women having babies is something that takes a few months, right? That sometimes it takes a lot more time, and you know, why couldn't you do both?
Well, sure. For me, it was a bit bitter of a situation because I had helped spearhead a project at the bank where we developed a new product for a certain market niche that wasn't being met. And by the time I left that bank, there was $28 million being invested in that product, and I felt like that was, in large part, my responsibility, or that I had helped bring that money into the bank. And so I thought, well, an employee-employee relationship is supposed to be a two-way relationship, and I felt like I had certainly done my part for that bank, and what were they going to do for me? And all I wanted to know was that I would have the possibility of going part-time in the future. And when they totally just foreclosed all discussion of the issue, and I saw NCNB down the street with practically a banner hanging out over their door saying, "Come have your babies with us," I decided that then it was time for me to make my move and move to NCNB.
Mr. Korn, which of those two companies represents the norm in this day and age?
Well, I think someplace in between the two, Mr. Koppel. I think most of corporate America is trying to accommodate the adjustments to the fact that half of the workforce today are women, and there are projections that say they will be 65%. The question remains, how are women going to move to the top if they are not going to devote the same time and energy to the job that the men are? It's a very competitive, hard world, and the fact of the matter is that families have got to be planned, but not the way we've just heard about it.
Let me put the question to you slightly differently, and Betty Friedan, let me apologize to you right now. I'm going to come to you right after the next break, but I just want to pursue this a little bit with Mr. Korn. Let's say that it's a man we're talking about, not a woman, and the man comes to your company, for example, and says, look, my wife and I feel that this ought to be a shared experience, and I want to work part-time, or I want to work flex time, or I want to take some time off now and then come back. Is that a man who is automatically shunted off to something less than the fast track?
Yes, I think he is, to be honest with you, Ted. I think the fact of the matter is that companies don't want to hear that, and that isn't the way corporations operate. And a person who says that, man or woman, is clearly lining up a career that's quite different than a fast-track career. It's perfectly acceptable. It's perfectly good to want that. But you have to realize that there's lots of people out there who will say the other way is the better way, and in fact will go the other way.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue this discussion with Betty Friedan.